أناجي الحق في ليل بهيم أصدق النجوى وأدعو الله من قلب سليم يطلب التقوى أناجي الحق في ليل بهيم أصدق النجوى وأدعو الله من قلب سليم يطلب التقوى.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum, and welcome to another edition of Perspective. My name is Faizel Patel. On tonight's show, we look at the sad passing of Minister Collins Chibane. Debt shock, South Africans owe government 180 billion rand. And Human Rights Day on Saturday, and we look at some tech news as well. Remember, you can interact with me by sending me a mail on Faizel at itvnetworks.tv. Drop me a tweet on @Faizi143, or you can even comment on facebook.com/Faizel Patel. The President of South Africa, the ANC, opposition parties and union leaders have expressed sadness and shock at the death of Minister of Public Service and Administration, Collins Chibane. A shocked President Jacob Zuma broke the news of Collins Chibane's death to his wife and family before they received the official news. This is according to reports. Now, Netwerk 24 reported that Zuma was the first person to inform the Minister of Public Service and Administration's family after visiting their house in Waterkloof, which is in Pretoria. Now, Zuma said he spoke to Chibane's wife shortly after receiving a message about his death from the office of the Limpopo Premier, Sten Matabatha. Now, he told Netwerk 24 he made the mistake of telling Chibane's family because he was in shock. And absolutely, it was an absolute shock across the whole South African spectrum. Everybody was in shock. Chibane and his bodyguards, Sergeant Lesiba Sekele and Sergeant Lawrence Letsowane, were killed instantly when a truck allegedly did a U-turn in front of their car on the N1 highway near Polokwane in the early hours of Sunday morning. Now, the President said on Monday that the death of Chibane was a difficult issue for his wife and family to deal with. And it is absolutely, it's an absolute tragedy for any person. Your wife, your siblings, your children. It's something that you can never fathom. 1 minute you're alive, the next minute, you're passing away in an accident, no matter what it is. Life is very short these days. And Zuma says Chibane's death was not only a huge loss for his family and Limpopo community, but also for the ANC and the country as a whole. Now, according to the Rand Daily Mail, an expert told Talk Radio 72 that the picture showing Chibane's mangled VW Touareg suggests that the car was traveling at least 200 kilometers an hour. And we're going to come on to that just in a few minutes. How speed does have an effect on the way that things happen, especially accidents. Now, the Times reported that hours before the crash, the minister addressed a funeral warning against long-distance driving. He said due to the fatigue of traveling, it could increase the possibility of fatal road accidents. Now, how ironic is that? A few hours before he passed away, he was speaking about the exact same thing, how fatigue can have an impact and how fatigue can cause road accidents. Now, the presidency announced on Monday that the Minister of Arts and Culture, Nathi Mthethwa, has been appointed as the acting Minister of Public Service and Administration. Minister in the presidency, Jeff Radebe, says that police were investigating the cause of the crash. Now, the two guards that were traveling with the Public Service and Administration Minister, as I mentioned, Collins Chibane, will receive state funerals. This is according to Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, who announced this on Monday as well. Now, let's talk about the factor. The truck driver has been taken to court. He's been charged with culpable homicide. He did a U-turn on the highway. There are reports that the president's, that Colin Chibane's security guards or bodyguards were speeding in excess of 200 kilometers an hour. But what does it tell you? Speed kills. Speed kills. Can people understand that driving the way that you do, driving recklessly, will eventually end up causing a fatality? And if you think about it, an expert that has gone to the scene said that the accident was unavoidable. Driving at 180 kilometers an hour and a truck making a U-turn on the highway, there was no time to react at all. Absolutely no time to react. And if you've seen the pictures of the car on social media, especially Twitter, you'll see that the entire roof of the VW Touareg was completely ripped off. It was completely flat. There's no way that anybody could have actually survived it. So again, in December, remember we interviewed Johan Jong from Arrive Alive, and he emphasized, and we emphasize again, speed kills. You're not going to go anywhere in a hurry if you drive fast, if you die in an accident. Why can't we just obey the rules of the road, stick to the speed limits, and ensure that life is preserved? Accidents causes a whole lot of heartache for family, for friends, for wives, for sons, for children. And speed, like again, I'm going to mention it again, speed kills. And the thing is that sometimes we tend to be nonchalant. We realize that we are good drivers, we are the best drivers, we went for this cause and that cause, and it can never happen to us. It will happen. So please take cognizance and ensure that you obey the rules of the road, stick to the speed limit, or there will be drastic consequences. Here a man has lost his life, a minister, a well-loved minister in South Africa has lost his life tragically, due to a cause of an accident. And we hope that we can spread a message on ITV to all the fellow viewers. Please obey the rules of the road. Like I said, speed does kill. Another story that we're going to be speaking about is service delivery. We know that in Tembelihle near Lenasia, there's service delivery protests. They want housing, they want water, they want electricity, with many other areas also as well. Well, but all these services come at a price. And this is now staggering. South Africans owe the government institutions like the South African Revenue Service, municipalities, and traffic authorities, listen to this, a staggering 180 billion rand in overdue taxes, municipal accounts, and traffic fines. Now, according to an investigation by Report's Peter Louise Myberg, while this figure continues to grow and South Africans fall further behind in these debts, municipalities and SARS are writing off more and more debts each year. Now, Report's investigation, based on studies from the Treasury, the financial statements of about 20 of the largest metros and municipalities, SARS annual reports, and the latest information on outstanding traffic fines shows South Africans' overdue debt to the government has drastically increased in the last 4 years. Now, we might go a little bit further into that. We know that Eskom is load shedding. It affects the municipalities. They've increased fees. They've increased tariffs. Sometimes your electricity bill was probably 300 rand. Now it's up to 900 rand. And maybe your increases at work, or maybe you get other expenses. You've got children that go to school, you've got a car to pay for, and a whole lot of other expenses come. And you cannot afford these exorbitant electricity bills. So it's what people tend to do. They tend to pay what they can afford. And this balance now is carried over from month to month. Eventually you're sitting with 15,000, 16,000 rand, and it's just too much to pay. Now, in some instances, the rate of payment for the fines is as low as 20%. So again, we're going to come on to the speeding. If you're speeding, if you don't get a driver's license, if your tires threads are finished, if you haven't got a number plate, and if you've got a traffic fine, who is to blame? Is a traffic official to blame, or are you to blame? If you're speeding and a traffic official stops you, then you must take responsibility for that and pay your fine. If you haven't got a license, or driver's license, or car license, then there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with that you need to take a hold of. You need to pay your fines. The investigation, which was published in full in Sunday's report, also showed that overdue debt owed to municipalities stood at a massive 94 billion rand at the end of 2013-2014. Remember also that Eskom is not the enemy here, or the municipalities are not the enemy. They want to provide services, possibly want to provide the services. There are a lack of funds, and if they're not getting the money in, they can't do that. The households, which account for 58 billion rand of this amount, are falling deeper and deeper into debt or arrears. In 2010 and 2011, 77% of their debts to municipalities were more than 90 days in arrears. By 2013 and 2014, 80% of their debts were overdue by more than 90 days. Municipalities and SARS are writing off increasing amounts of bad debt. About 20 municipalities, including the country's 8 metros, wrote off 3.2 billion rand of bad debts in the year 2013 and 2012 and 2013. Only a year later, 2014, the figure had risen by 32% to 4.3 billion rand. Absolutely exorbitant amount. Now, the amount of bad debt written off by SARS more than doubled in only 4 years and stood at 15 billion rand in 2013-2014. In Cape Town, Johannesburg, eThekwini, which is Durban, Ekurhuleni alone, motorists now owe more than 5 billion rand in overdue traffic fines. Absolutely staggering. The rate of payment of traffic fines in Cape Town had fallen to a dismal 20% in 2013-2014, while the other metros also experienced a very low rates of payment. Again, like I said, City Power, Joburg Water, the traffic department, anyway, they might be guilty or there might be certain instances where they are wrong. But if you do something wrong, speed, no license, don't pay your electricity bills, don't pay your municipal bills, you need to take responsibility. You can't demand service. You can't demand better housing. You can't demand better service from the municipality. You can't demand better roads. You can't demand a whole lot of other stuff that you want if you don't pay these particular bills or traffic fines. We're going to go for a break. After the break, we're going to be speaking about Human Rights Day, which will be celebrated on Saturday. Stay tuned to Perspective.
أصدق النجوى وأدعو الله من قلب سليم يطلب التقوى إلهي صرت في ظرف عصيب فاكشف البلوى فيا ربي أنا. Welcome back to Perspective. Human Rights Day is a national day that is commemorated annually on the 21st of March to remind South Africans about the sacrifices that accompanied the struggle for the attainment of democracy in South Africa. And all of us, myself, yourself, we cherish the freedom that we fought for so many years and Madiba actually strived for so many years. Now, the commemoration provides the country with an opportunity to reflect on progress made in the promotion and protection of human rights. The 1960s were characterized by systematic defiance and protests against apartheid and racism across the entire country of South Africa. On the 21st of March 1960, the community of Sharpeville and Langa townships, like their fellow compatriots across the country, embarked on a protest march to protest against past laws. The apartheid police shot and killed 69 of the protesters at Sharpeville, many of them shot while fleeing. Many other people were killed in other parts of the country. The tragedy came to known as the Sharpeville Massacre, and it exposed the apartheid government's deliberate violation of human rights to the world. The brutality of our police service still haunts our country. Let's not forget that. It still haunts us, in the form of the deaths at the hands of police officers. During the Marikana miners' protest, we had Gia Nicolaides speaking about that particular issue, the death of protester Andries Tatane, and the list just goes on. The democratic government declared March 21st Human Rights Day to commemorate and honor those who fought for our liberation and the rights we enjoy today, you and I. Our Constitution is hailed as one of the most progressive in the world. The Constitution is the ultimate protector of our human rights, which were previously denied to the majority of our people under the regime of apartheid. We commemorate Human Rights Day to reinforce our commitment to the Bill of Rights as enshrined in our Constitution. And for those that don't know, these rights include, number one, equality. Everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law. Human dignity. Everyone has inherent dignity
and have their dignity respected and protected. Freedom of movement and residence. Everyone has a right to freedom of movement and to reside anywhere in the country. Language and culture. We are so fortunate as Muslims. Language and culture. Everyone has the right to use the language and to participate in the cultural life of their choice. We can wear hijab, we can wear kurta, we can walk in the street. Our adhans are broadcast over the speakers, and we are free to practice our deen as we wish. Life. Everyone has the right to life. Government will host various activities throughout the Human Rights Month to remind all South Africans to continue working together to uphold the culture of human rights. Human rights come with responsibilities, and we all have the responsibility to build society that respects the rule of law. No compromises. Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at schools, or with our partners and children, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we have or we would like to see in our country's future. We have a responsibility to ensure that our human rights record and history are preserved and strengthened for future generations. Another story that we're going to be speaking about, fracking in the Karoo. It may be the end of fracking in the Karoo after a multinational oil and gas company, Royal Dutch Shell, pulled its top shale gas man out of South Africa. Last week, Business Times was told that Jan Willem Eggink, who Shell sent to South Africa from Libya to monitor South Africa's shale gas opportunity, would be pulled out of the country in coming weeks. Other highly skilled staff would follow him. Shell said on Friday last week that as part of a review due to falling oil prices, the company had adjusted its activities in shale oil gas and gas opportunities outside of the Americas. It also said that it had adjusted staffing to local exploration in South Africa. Now, the company said it needed to clarify on legislation and technical regulations in the country before making any further decisions. Now, the redeployment of senior staff by Shell signals a lost opportunity for South Africa. In initial shale gas exploration in the Karoo alone, Shell would have spent a minimum of 2.5 billion rand. Shell is not the only oil and gas major that is fed up. Last year, U.S. oil and gas explorer Andaco Petroleum said it would halt spending on exploration in South Africa until it could get more clarity on changes in the country's laws. Now, aside from that 20% free stake, the government is also interested in raising share in future projects by acquiring greater stakes in successful projects through the production sharing agreements or buying in an agreed price. Now, they are not looking much better on the downstream side of the industry, as oil and gas companies have been talking to the government since 2009 to get guarantees and regulations in place to upgrade refineries to produce cleaner fuels. Now, to upgrade the country's refineries to make cleaner fuels would cost about 40 billion rand. And then also companies need support from government, final regulations and specifications for clean fuels. This is now expected only in 2017. But the government has approved the Bergen Clean Fuel Storage Project in Cape Town. This will open the door for other countries to dump their excess product in this particular country. Now, chairwoman of Chevron Trading, Eskeltex, Nobuswe Mabusia, says that this will definitely be a negative impact on the refineries and is threatening the viability of the industry. The company has also estimated that the impact could amount to about 20 million rand a year, a big loss, if the government does not assist in the upgrades and put certain regulations in place. But while these debates continue, essential oil gas experts are packing their suitcases and they are leaving the country. So, what your thoughts and comments are on that? This was an opportunity to recoup some money. There was certain regulations that said that the Karoo would be affected, but the amount of money that we need money. Eskom is suffering. There are many other ways that money could have been used. But let me know what your thoughts and comments are on my Twitter handle, which is Faizel143. You can send me a mail on Faizel@itv10networks.tv or drop me a comment on facebook.com/Faizel Patel. Coming on to our tech segment, last week we were speaking about the Samsung S6 being launched at the Mobile Congress in Barcelona. Well, a lot of people have been asking me questions, sending me WhatsApp messages, sending me mail, and asking me on Twitter as well, when will South Africa see the S6 coming into this particular country. Normally, sometimes it takes a couple of months. Well, Vodacom customers could be among the first in South Africa to have a chance at owning Samsung's latest flagship smartphones. Electronics giant Samsung launched its S6, like I said, smartphone range at the Mobile World Congress 2015, which was in Barcelona in Spain about 2 weeks ago. Now, the S6 comes in two versions, the standard flat screen and with a screen that edges on both sides. Absolutely nice phone if you actually have a look at it. And Vodacom has announced that it is launching the S6 series in South Africa. If you got your pen and paper ready, listen to this, please take note. The S6 series in South Africa will be launched on the 10th of April with limited stock. So if you do want the phone, go to your nearest dealer and put your name down, because these dealers only get limited stock, sometimes 10 units, 5 units, sometimes even 2 units. And if you don't put your name down, you cannot get it. So go there if you really do want this phone and put your name down. Now, features of the phone include a 5.1-inch Quad HD MOLED display, a 16-megapixel camera, back-facing camera, and 5-megapixel camera, and an octa-core processor with 3 gigs of RAM. Now, both devices also come equipped with Google's Android 5.0 operating system dubbed Lollipop. Sounds more like sweet. It's amazing the way these phone companies come with such, nice names or sweet names, if you want to put it that way. South Africa is said to be among the first 20 markets in the world to sell that particular phone. So we are very, very fortunate that we're one of the countries that will be getting this phone. Like I said, my personal choice, I like the iPhone, but I want to stress, April 10th, very significant date. If you really enjoy Samsung products, go out there. When I got my iPhone, I knew that the iPhone is going to be launched on a certain date. I went to my dealer who I went to, and I told him, listen, I want this phone. When you do get in units, please keep one for me. And apparently, he only had 2 units. So limited stock, go there, and if you do want it, and get it for yourself as well. And like I said, absolutely brilliant phone. But let me know what your thoughts and comments are. Are you going to get the Samsung S6? If you are going to get it, why are you going to get it as opposed to any other phone like the iPhone or the Motorola or maybe even a BlackBerry? You can email me on Faizel at ITV Networks or drop me a tweet, or you can even comment on facebook.com/Faizel Patel. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of another edition of Perspective for this week. Join me again next week, inshallah, when we again cover stories that are making headlines locally, nationally, and internationally. And like I mentioned again, you are welcome to interact with me by sending me a mail on Faizel at itvnetworks.tv, or you can even send me a tweet on @Faizi143, or you can drop me a comment as well on facebook.com/Faizel Patel. From myself, Faizel Patel, and my great team here at ITV, fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أناجي الحق في ليل بهيم أصدق النجوى وأدعو الله من قلب سليم يطلب التقوى أناجي الحق في ليل بهيم أصدق النجوى وأدعو الله من قلب سليم يطلب التقوى صرت في ظرف عصيب فاكشف البلوى فيا ربي أنا عبد لرد الضيم لا يقوى